Hi, my name is Zacharias Niedzwiecki. I'm a Lululemon ambassador in Chicago. So how do you pose? I'm going to be taking you through 4 different yoga poses, and they're the most common yoga poses that you will see in any yoga practice. The yoga poses we're going to cover are Bālāsana, child's pose, Bhujangasana, Cobra pose, Tadasana, mountain pose, and Shavasana, corpse pose. So check this out. We're going to break it down for you, show you the misalignments, things that you can do to modify if it doesn't quite feel right, and also where you can most likely see them in your yoga practice. So all of these poses are honestly for all levels, from beginner to advanced, and you are going to see them in all level classes. So let's get started first and foremost with Bālāsana, child's pose. So child's pose Bālāsana usually comes at the very beginning of your yoga practice. Oftentimes it is used to ground students into their practice, into their bodies, into their day. To get into Bālāsana child's pose, we're going to start in a kneeling position. As you're here, begin to take your knees out wider, about mat's width distance. Your toes will touch behind you. And before we bow forward into it, I want us to take a moment, take an inhale through your nose and lift your shoulders up toward your ears. Now, as you exhale, release the shoulders down and back. You're gonna feel a really supported trunk or supported torso. Now, maintain this upright position and begin to walk your hands forward. As you do, allow the body to melt down, forearms down, palms down, and then your forehead, your third eye center, will relax also onto the mat. You want to maintain connection from glutes to your heels. And as your torso is released down between your legs, allow your breath to find expansion in all directions of the torso. Now, if you're here and you're like, ooh, I don't quite have the flexibility to get my hips on my heels, or like kind of tense knees, anything like that, a wonderful option for you is just a simple yoga block. You will separate the feet just a little bit, and you'll slide the block between your toes. You then sit down onto your block. So what this has done for me, this has elevated my hips. It's allowed me to have a little bit more space between my hips and my heels. Now, if this is still a little bit too tight, you can always take another yoga block and place it underneath to give yourself even more space. So all of these are wonderful options for you. And then depending on if you are comfortable, then you can walk yourself forward and find your child's pose with the support of the block beneath your hips. Now, common misalignment that I see is usually just tension in the shoulders. As people extend their arms forward, usually what happens, that translates to the shoulders rising up, shoulders near the earlobe. So you wanna work towards finding relaxation. So Cobra pose or Bhujangasana will come into your practice really at any time, from the beginning, middle to end. So Bhujangasana is a wonderful yoga posture to strengthen the spine, to build up the back muscles, and also to build awareness throughout the body. So rather than softening, this posture is really about engaging, keeping relaxation at the same time that you're finding strong engagement. We're gonna start in a downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, feet will be about hips width distance, hands shoulder width distance. Inhale, shift forward into a high plank. As you exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto the abdomen. Keep your hands exactly where they are. They're in the perfect position for Cobra pose, right beneath the shoulders. Pull the elbows in, roll the shoulders back. Expel your use air first. And now as you inhale, you press into the hands. Keep the shoulders soft away from the ears. Gaze is forward. The glutes are engaged and the core is engaged to protect your low back from too much extension. And you lower down. So that is Cobra pose. So you saw my arms were fully extended. That's what I'm going to offer as modifications for Cobra pose. You can have full extension, half extension, no extension in the arms, and that's going to be a way that you can find your own level in Cobra pose. So say we're starting on the abdomen. You can do what I did and having the full extension. Now, especially in the beginning of the practice, I wouldn't encourage you to do this because the body isn't quite warmed up enough. So rather than doing full extension, maybe you just do a half extension. You're still pressing into the hands, the shoulders are still soft, you're still gazing down and forward. Now, if that still is a little bit too much, a wonderful option is just the back strengthening modification. So the hands are up and you lift the shoulders up through spinal engagement. My glutes are engaged, my lumbar spine is engaged, my shoulder blades are contracted as I'm lifting up and back. Now, common misalignments that I see in Cobra pose is usually tension or overextension. So the tension comes from the shoulders and the overextension most oftentimes comes from the head and neck by gazing directly up to the sky, and also in the low back by not supporting with the glutes and with your core. Now this posture is fantastic if you want to create good grounding, especially at the beginning of the practice where it usually falls. Also, you'll see this fall into the practice during Sun A, also known as Surya Namaskar A. So for Tadasana mountain pose, bring your feet about hips width distance. As you're here, again, shoulders back, so your chest can be open, so your shoulders can be relaxed. Activate through the glutes, so there's no jutting out or a tilt of the pelvis. You want to lengthen the low back. Your palms can rest on either side facing forward. You can bring your hands to your heart. You can also extend your arms up to the sky for the full extension. Internal rotation of my fingers, so my pinkies are pointing in, which allows my trapezius, or the muscles on the side of my neck, to stay soft, but allows my deltoids to stay engaged. Now, the most common misalignments that I see with Tadasana mountain pose is booty sticking back. As students reach up and out, they have this sort of curvature in the back, almost like an S. This is caused by, one, a lack of glute engagement, and two, a lack of core engagement. So what you want to do, I'm kind of exaggerating, but you'll want to lengthen the pelvis, engage through the core, which naturally happens as you engage through the glutes, to create a line of energy from the crown of your head down through the heels of your feet. And if you ever have shoulder issues, shoulder pain by reaching your arms up, I would definitely encourage you to keep the palms shining forward at your side body or hands to heart center. Those are two wonderful modifications that you can do if you ever have any shoulder pain, shoulder issues. And again, if you ever have any low back pain, it's usually caused by too large of a tilt of the pelvis back. You want to lengthen the tailbone down. Now, Shavasana corpse pose most commonly will come at the very end of your practice. And honestly, your entire yoga practice has been working to get you to Shavasana. All that physical work is there to get all the extra energy out of the body. And then your Shavasana is your reward. It is your opportunity to put all of that good, hard work to use with relaxation. And how wonderful does that sound? With this posture, you'll most likely hear your teacher towards the end of your practice say, inhale, gaze forward, and exhale, travel to the top of the mat and take a seat. Extend your feet out before you. Allow your toes to open out. Extend your arms forward first, and we're going to slowly lower down all together. Take your time, there's no rush. Once you're completely flat onto your back, allow your hands to be off of your mat to give yourself a little bit of space. Now let's bring the shoulder blades just a little bit closer together so the heart is elevated just slightly. From here, close your eyes. Tune into your heart, the rhythmic beating. Listen into your breath, steady rise and fall. Option to place one hand over your heart to feel and become more in tune with your heart. An option to place the other hand over your low abdomen to feel the breath and to breathe into your hand. Now, for Shavasana, if you have bolsters, or which this is a bolster, comes in many sizes, or even pillows, I like to use two of them. When I do give myself a nice modification where I'm showing myself a little bit more self-love. I'll place one of them right at my low back and enough pillows or length of bolster so your entire torso and head can rest. And the other one would go right underneath your knees. And again, you want the feet out nice and wide, toes will open out, palms up. And then you lower down and back. So right now, what you're seeing is I have support of my lumbar spine. My natural C curvature that occurs in my lumbar spine and my low back is supported. I have a lengthened tailbone down. Then at the same time, my low back is supported and lengthened from a slight elevation of my knees. Shavasana is so wonderful in grounding, and it is an incredible posture to tune everything out in your life. And so that's where we come to what I call the most common mistakes rather than misalignments of Shavasana. I notice students being distracted, whether it's by their phone, by their hair, by an itch on their face, or worst yet, they just can completely leave class and they don't even enjoy their Shavasana. I understand we all have busy lives right now. We always will. But that 5 minutes that you could take for yourself in Shavasana will always be worth it. You've earned it from all of that work you just did. Again, my name is Zacharias Niedzwiecki. I am a Lululemon ambassador in Chicago. If you found this information pretty intriguing and you want to learn more about yoga, check out our channel.